Molweni babukeli bami emakhaya. Welcome to the Rising of Alkebulan. Namhlanje we are discussing a topic that is not popularly known to many African people, or even manditi the world. There are concepts that have faded out in Africa as new generations were born and moved from their indigenous roots, adapting cultures, customs, religions that have been foreign to the African people, introduced by those who came to join us in our land. Spirit King, those are words that are not familiar to the ears of a normal human being. Mhlambi, you are shocked. You are wondering, what is a spiritual king? What we commonly know as a people is a traditional king or a traditional queen. When we speak about traditional kingship, we're speaking about kingship that is passed on by virtue of bloodline. We know, Babugeli Bam, that you cannot be a king if your father or your grandfather was not a king. This means that you are a king or a queen or a chief because of what? Your bloodline. Spiritual kingship is much more different because it has divinity. You are not a king because of your traditional bloodline. You are not a king because the blood of kingship runs through you. 1. 2. A spiritual king is a king because of a deity's incarnate. A spiritual king does not only govern a tribe or a specific nation, but he is a king of all people. He brings together different nation tribes under one rule, and that is the rule by the gods, which means the rule by Umdali. Therefore, we can say that spiritual kingship is a universal kingship. Quoting from a study, Babugeli Bami, it says, the author's definition of universalistic revolves around the idea of totality. By this definition, and titles such as King of the Universe, King of all people, the Governor of all great gods, and Kings of all kings are instantly classified as universalistic. A spiritual king must have elements that people can identify and by. These elements must be accompanied by spiritual signs and also spiritual experiences. Quoting from a study by Babugeli Bami, I will share some of these elements that a spiritual king must have.
The throne, crown, headdress, garment as a sign of dignity, and scepter, the staff through which the rule is carried out, were originally believed to contain power through which the king ruled. The star garment of the Persian king symbolized his world rulership, as did the feather mantle of the kings of Hawaii. In many cultures, the throne, the crown, and the scepter are viewed as divine and identified with God and goddesses. Spiritual kings are sent every 2,000 years. They are the ones responsible to govern and legitimize the state, sent for a mission and to fulfill a spiritual purpose in Mhlabeni. African indigenous spirituality, once a suppressed practice and now revived by Imbo, Dr. Uzwi Khadebe, not only on an African continental state but also on a global state. Sigbona Pilobo, through books published by the University of Cambridge titled Revelation Spiritual Home. He also received the Spirituality Award from an organization formed by top scholars and lawyers, Fede Nsiema. Furthermore, Babugeli Bami, he also received the Sanhak Peace Prize given to him by the Universal Peace Federation. That is an organization bringing together top world leaders, coming together working for a common goal and purpose. The late, great Marcus Garvey says, "Look to Africa, for a king is coming." Babugeli Bam, one may ask themselves what type of a king this is, and what king currently embodies the spiritual elements and spiritual signs that qualify him to be a spiritual king. Let's speak about Inkosi Yomoya, Dr. Uzwi Khadebe. How does he qualify to being a spiritual king? Firstly, Inkosi has revived African indigenous spirituality, bringing dignity to abalaphi bendabuko, to imboni zakwanti, and also the practices that encompass abantu abamnyama, that is being rooted in African indigenous spirituality. Secondly, Inkosi Yomoya does have a scepter given to him by the spiritual dimension. Thirdly, imboni Dr. Uzwi Khadebe, Inkosi Yomoya in this current era, there were imboni that came before him that gave revelations about his arrival.
from Imbonikazi uMama uMantsumpa to the great late Credo Mutwa, who named him Mvezindaba, Mkhulumi wamaqiniso. The previous elements mentioned in a study, these are all elements that Imboni Dr. Uzulezi Khatebe embodies. This proves and supports that he is the current spiritual king existing in this era, not only here to govern the living but also the dead. Inkosi yomoya is known by those who have walked before us, abantu abadala, our ancestors, and the upper dimension. Siyabonga ababukeli bami, please tune in our next episode.